Alright everyone, welcome back to another review, and this time we're going to be covering Friday the 13th Part 5, A New Beginning. I'm going to make this short, I'm going to make this sweet. I am not a fan of Part 5, I don't like Part 5. I think Part 5 is the weakest of the bunch. I also think that it's the biggest missed opportunity of the bunch. There is some stuff I do like, but there's a lot that I don't like, and a lot of stuff I don't like has to go with the overall story of the movie, because I think the story that is eventually was told in this movie kind of dumb, doesn't really make a whole lot of sense, and it comes across as really half-assed, almost as if they weren't even trying to make an entertaining movie, almost as if they weren't trying to make it make sense. So the things I do like, of course, this movie takes place after Part 4, though not directly after Part 4. This movie takes place, we'll say, a couple of years after Part 4. Tommy Jarvis is now older, and he's completely traumatized and just psychologically tortured by the events of what happened to him in Part 4. He's a mute, barely has any lines of dialogue, and I'm going to give the actor John Shepherd a lot of credit, who played Tommy Jarvis. He did a exceptional job at playing a character who, for 99% of the time, has little to no dialogue. A lot of his acting comes from facial expressions and body movement, and I think he did a solid job. I'm going to give him a lot of credit. He took he took what some people would call a thankless role, and he made it into a memorable role. He's our lead guy, and when your lead barely has any lines, you better have some sort of talent to pull this off. And I give John Shepherd a ton of credit. He did a good job as playing the psychologically tortured Tommy Jarvis. Another character I like is Reggie the Reckless, played by Savile Ross. And I love Reggie Reckless. Reggie the Reckless is awesome. He is a badass. He may scream like a little bitch, but he will kick your ass. And he kicks ass. And he's also funny. And I also like how he's not a Tommy Jarvis copy. Like, Tommy Jarvis was like an outsider. He was a nerd. Reggie Reckless is a loudmouth. He's someone who is brash, is not afraid to speak what's on his mind. I appreciate that. And Savile Ross brought a lot of, likability and charisma to Reggie the Reckless. And I got no hate on Reckless, because Reckless is the man. And I would have loved to have seen more Friday movies with Jarvis and Reggie working together. But what I got in this movie, because the movie was like hinting at a budding, like almost like a budding friendship and like their introduction together, but then they barely share any screen time post that one scene. I think this movie missed the opportunity to develop a real, true, genuine friendship between Reckless and Jarvis. To me, that's a big weak point, and it is a fatal flaw, because Reckless could have easily been a good sidekick to Tommy Jarvis. And that's pretty much it. Jarvis and Reckless are the only two characters to me that really stand out. Everyone else, they're just generic and bland. Actually, no, I take that back. There is another character that I really like, but he's completely wasted, and that is the sheriff, and that's a character called Sheriff Tucker, played by Marco St. John. Now, if this movie was written the way that it should have been written in the first place, now this movie went the route of a copycat killer chase. Now, I like this Sheriff Tucker character, because he's the only one that believes that this is the real Jason committing these murders. And I would have liked to have seen more of the chase of Tucker trying to find out what's actually really going on. But he has a couple of scenes peppered throughout, and that's pretty much it. You see him here, you see him there, you see him there, you see him there. He's not really in there throughout the entire movie. I think he has maybe 4 scenes tops, and that's pretty much it, which is a damn shame, because I was actually liking what Marco St. John was bringing to the table, and I would have loved to have seen this movie primarily focus on Tucker, Reggie, and Jarvis, those three characters working together to try and find out what the hell's happening, in addition to all the throwaway characters in this halfway house. Because the other patients in the other characters, they're just so stock, they're so generic, they're just there to die, and that's about it. And that's another thing this movie kind of misses the bullet on. Even though this has one of the highest body counts in a Friday movie, kills aren't all that spectacular. The only two that really stand out to me is when the copycat puts a belt to this guy's, like puts a leather strap on this guy's face and just like twists it till it snaps. That's a memorable kill. And of course, when he sticks a flare into a person's mouth, and that's about it. Everything else is just hammer to the head, machete slash. Nothing really all that creative, or with the exception of the other two kills. Their deaths are all stock and generic. I'm not a big fan of Danny Steinman's directing. It's substandard, but I do like the cinematography. I think this movie is wonderfully shot. I like the atmosphere of it. Now, even though I criticize Danny for bringing that on the table, he does, I'll give him this, he does create a sense of atmosphere. However, the atmosphere he creates works better in the night sequences, because the day sequences, they're just stock and generic. They're not creepy at all. But his night sequences, I think, are done exceptionally well. And that's all I'm going to say about that. Like I said, the writing of this movie is weak. Now, you're going the whole route of a psychological thriller, of a psychological horror movie. How I would have done this, and Joe Zito and Barney Cohen actually had this idea of having the evil of Jason be passed down to Tommy Jarvis. I think they should have ran with that idea, or at least do something like Tommy Jarvis is so psychologically tortured by what happened, have him almost develop a split personality where he doesn't know he's doing all the killings. Like, have him believe that one side of his personality is actually Jason and is completely independent from his other personality, where he doesn't really know, where he has no clue of what he's doing, what he's capable of, and have that personality take over when he's under extreme stress. A la the Wolfman or Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, where independent personalities take over the same host. I think that could have made for a much more interesting movie, since they were going down this route, and of course this and with the dead Jason and having a copycat. I think that would have made this movie much more stronger and much more memorable and much more interesting. Unfortunately, what I got was nothing all that spectacular, because it ended up revealing that some random ambulance driver who was the father of some kid in the nut house was doing all the killings, and it was really half-assed explanation as to why he was doing it. And by the time this movie was over, I could give two shits of why he wanted to kill. I just wanted this fucking thing to end and see the real Jason come back, because a missed opportunity, and this movie suffers for that. And because of that, I'm gonna give it a 4 out of 10. 4 out of 10, because I like the direction that they're initially going with Tommy Jarvis. I like Reggie the Reckless. I like the character of Sheriff Tucker. For the most part, I think Danny Steinman's directing is okay, especially when it comes to the night sequences. I do like the cinematography. I think the cinematography throughout the movie looks fine. And Danny Steinman does, I guess, an okay job of doing tension. To me, Danny Steinman's tension building works best in like the last couple of minutes, where Jason chases the characters into a barn, and I think that was like one of the better done scenes in terms of building suspension, in terms of building tension and dread. Everything else to me is just stock. Well, those are my thoughts on Friday the 13th Part 5: A New Beginning. It's a 4 out of 10. You can skip this and you won't regret it. I'm AJ Legend. Like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll check you back next time for more.